In several videos I've uploaded previously on my channel, I've commented on how I dislike realistic CGI. I know it hasn't been that long since my Aeon Flux video where I last touched on this topic, but with the release of the Lion King remake, I feel it's the perfect opportunity to explain my beef with this kind of animation. For about 2 decades now, we have been striving to achieve realism with CGI, and for 2 decades we have utterly failed. Every time we think we've reached the apex of what CGI is capable of, it just becomes dated over time until something more convincing comes along. Despite how impressive it was in 1999, the early CGI of the Star Wars films looks like garbage now, and even technical marvels like Avatar are starting to show signs of age. At this point, realistic CGI just feels like a futile endeavor. Even more so when it dooms your movie to a fate where the visuals will always look dated after a certain period of time. It's why many are now pushing for more practical effects, or at least a compromise between practical effects and computer-generated effects. However, the problem I have is not with realistic CGI in live-action movies. After all, it is shot in live action, so it makes sense to make sure the special effects look as true to reality as possible. Sure, they may be dated over time, but ultimately the purpose of realistic CGI in this context is reasonable and justified. No, what I have a problem with, and what I think is inexcusable, is making an animated movie with realistic CGI. The Polar Express, Beowulf, and Mars Needs Moms were made with realistic CGI that was impressive for the time, but they all look less than stellar now. But even that is not what I fault them for. After all, even a movie like The Incredibles, which didn't have a realistic art style at all, still looks pretty dated today. No, I hate movies like Polar Express because the animation style of realistic CGI is pointless. If the point in making a realistic CGI animated movie is to get it to look exactly like a live-action movie, then you have to ask yourself, what happens when we get to the point of complete photorealism? Once that goal is achieved, the animation will look no different from a live-action movie, and the only thing we will have achieved is an alternative and more time-consuming way of filming a movie in live action. This conundrum is exactly why there was a controversy over whether the Lion King remake is live action or not. On the one hand, it's the most photorealistic animation we've ever seen, but on the other hand, it is still animation. The debate ultimately doesn't matter though, because the fact that this debate even exists is the root of the problem. Realistic animation takes away the unique properties that animation has to offer. The abstract and malleable nature of animation provides the opportunity to give audiences an experience completely different from what they can get with a live-action movie. It's a medium that gives creators the ability to make a work that looks completely different from anything that exists in the real world. It allows filmmakers to achieve unique visual styles that stick out in the minds of audiences. Anyone who has seen Peter Chung's Aeon Flux series would be able to recognize its unique visual style from a single frame. But the best animations are the ones that take advantage of the medium not only to make their own style, but to create movement in ways only animation can achieve. Like the crazy camera work of Hiroyuki Imaishi, or the quick and fluid editing of Satoshi Kon. With all of the potential animation has for unique ways to tell a story, I find it insulting when films like the Lion King remake imply that animation's greatest achievement should be to mirror reality. The idea of a remake implies an update or an improvement in some way from the original product. But you can't improve upon an animation by taking away what made it visually unique in the first place. The original Lion King had the classic Disney Renaissance animation style to make it stand out visually. It was a look that was very different from live-action film, but that's what made its visuals so memorable. Compare all of that style to the drab nature of the remake with its pointless attempts at recreating reality, and it seems disrespectful to insinuate that this version is an update over the original. There's nothing visually about the remake that makes it stand out from any other animated movie made with realistic CGI. Its visual style has nothing unique to offer besides the impression the photorealism will leave on you, which will quickly disintegrate over time when something else that looks even more photorealistic comes out. Remaking The Lion King was already pointless, but when your goal with it is to make it look as real as possible while sacrificing what made the original so visually unique in the first place, you fucked up. I'm Randall the Vandal, and thank you for watching.